Now Captain Fine will present awards to our three cadets that are up here. First, the Robert S. Crane Award to the Battalion Commander in honor of Robert S. Crane, the 1st Battalion Commander, class of 1934, Admiral Farragut Academy. Now the Longevity Awards to the 2 cadets that have been at Admiral Farragut for the longest time. Donald Thomas and Emily Harris both arrived in 2001. Class of 2011, Camilla Witolinsky.
My name is Camilla Witolinsky. As assumed of a valedictorian, during my 4 years here, I have written countless research papers and essays. But I must admit that this speech has been my most difficult task. I sat down to ponder why it was so hard to write, and I realized it was because I have gotten to know each of my classmates on such a personal level, one that would not be possible at any other school. What troubled me most was the one message I would like to leave the class of 2011. Something inspirational, heartfelt, and of course memorable. I started my schooling at Admiral Farragut as a freshman in 2007. It was an excellent year for me, full of change, growth, the privilege to spend time with my sister before she went off to college, and there I met some of my most important influences. He treated all the boarding students fairly.
It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this morning, Warren Pete Musser. Mr. Musser is a veteran of technology and financial industries. He has been a leading figure in the business world for more than 50 years. He's best known for his role in Safeguard Scientific as chairman of the board and chief executive officer. He facilitated the formation of successes of the many of today's top Fortune companies, including QVC, Comcast, and Novell. Today, Pete continues to serve as Chairman Emeritus of Safeguard and is also President of the Chief Executive Officer of the Musser Group, a financial consulting company. He also remains active on a number of corporate boards, such as Nutrisystem, Director of Internet Capital Group, and Inspro Technology. Pete is a strong supporter and contributor to the community at large, and he's a member of a variety of civic, education, and charitable boards. Pete earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering at Lehigh University. But more importantly, Mr. Musser is a proud graduate of Admiral Farragut Academy. Please help me welcome Mr. Pete Musser.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I've always had a fondness for naval uniforms, so I feel quite good about this image I'm getting sitting up here. I got out of Farragut on a momentous day. It happened to be DE Day, June 6, 1944. That's the day we invaded Europe. And I had an appointment to Annapolis the following year, so I went to Princeton in the meantime to get ready for Annapolis. In the meantime, my eyes went below 20/20, so I knew I couldn't go to Annapolis. So in March of 45, I enlisted in the Navy. And the word got around to Hitler that I came into the Navy, and he surrendered in 2 months. And then those Japanese fellas, they got the word. It had to be decoded for them. And in 4 months, they surrendered also. And my resume reads, Musser, class of 44, ender of wars. I was awfully lucky. So I went on to Lehigh, graduated in engineering because I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do, frankly. As a lot of you won't know what you want to do. But you're going to have to find out, and you search, and you keep trying things. And whatever you do, don't settle for something you don't like to do. Because you have a long life ahead of you, and it's going to go much smoother if you get up each morning enjoying the fact you're going to work, which is where I've been, luckily enough. So I ended up at age 25 with another fellow founding two businesses. One was a brokerage business called Philadelphia Securities Company, and the other was a holding company called Lancaster Corporation. In Lancaster, we raised $300,000, which really isn't. But from that humble beginning, I can point to over 100 billion worth of companies that have been influenced by Lancaster Corporation. So with our first investment of $150,000, we went into Tupelo, Mississippi to build a cable company. Now you all take for granted that TVs are readily available, and why have a cable company? But in those days, 1955, Philadelphia was getting 3 channels. And for 20 years, Philadelphia got 3 channels. In Tupelo, we gave them 12 channels for $6.50 a month. Needless to say, they loved it. And once they got on it, they never got off it because it's the cheapest entertainment they could have. So we put in $150,000. We built it up, and in 5 years we sold it for $600,000. We were thrilled with ourselves. That was our first significant achievement. But interestingly enough, Tupelo became the first company in Comcast. So when I look at Comcast today, which is the giant in the cable business, I say with some justification, I started Comcast. I don't say it around Ralph Roberts because he's very sensitive about that. Well, 20 years later, I had a breakfast with a successful entrepreneur named Joe Siegel, and he had founded Franklin Mint. And came to me and said, I have this idea, I want to form a holding company, I want to do 5 things, and I want to be like Safeguard, which was our company. And I'm thinking of all the disadvantages that go with diversification. And I said, well, why don't you just do TV shopping? And as you know, right up the road, you have the originator in TV shopping. So he came back the next day, rewrote his business plan, and now he's an expert in TV shopping. He raised $2 million. Then he went to Wall Street and raised $26 million. Then he went on the air. In his first year, he did $100 million. That's quite a rarity in your first year. So he got very successful. And what did we notice? We noticed that if somebody took the time to place that first order, which meant a phone call, and you give them the credit card number, if they then did it twice, they were hooked. Because it's so convenient. You don't leave your house, you don't leave your living room, you don't go to the store, the package arrives, and you either like it or send it back with no questions asked. And 20% came back, but that's part of the business. That company went on to be worth $15 billion. So what I'm trying to outline to you is it doesn't take a ton of money to start a business. It takes determination, first of all. You have to be selling a service that somebody needs, or they won't buy a darn thing from you. So that's what you have to determine as you go through college and then go work on somebody else's payroll. Develop a skill that you justify starting a business. Because once you start, you're on your own payroll, don't forget that. Nobody else is paying you a check. So then, in 1996, I guess, 2 young men at Safeguard. Now, the way you see the internet today, it's a wonderful thing. It was all a dream in the late 90s. It was not a reality. So this company, at its humble beginning, reached a value of $50 billion, if you can believe that. $50 billion. That's with a B. And so our entrepreneur, Mike Hagan, spent 2 years learning how to be in the diet business without salespeople, without diet centers, and without being a food company. And he did all that, and starting in the 3rd year, stock was $2, up from 60 cents. And in May it was 12. We sold some additional stock at 12, and that usually puts a lid on the stock for a while. In this case it didn't. By the end of the year the stock was $77. So it was literally the #1 stock in America for growth in 1 year. And sales reached 800 million, and then the recession hit, and sales fell off because dieting is a fad. It's not that people get skinny and stay skinny, because they don't. So, folks, you live in the greatest country ever for entrepreneurship. There is no example anywhere of a country that encourages entrepreneurship, supports entrepreneurship,